Hey everyone, Jared James here, and welcome to episode 79 of Today with Jared James. As always, guys, when you're watching this or you're listening to this or however you're doing it, make sure you subscribe, give it a review, a 5-star and a written. It's much appreciated, and share this with someone that you think would benefit from it. I am very happy today. I am joined in the office. We'll see if I get this right. By our director of coaching for our coaching program, Regan Archambault.
Pretty close.
Did I say it? How much?
Archambault.
Archambault. Regan Archambault. You guys can see how that would, obviously I'd mess that up, but Regan Archambault, who you got a really unique story, an interesting story. And so I want to, we'll see where this goes today. I want to talk to you a lot about kind of how you got here, because you and I originally were not, like you were an agent with, I think, Century 21.
Yep.
So I want to talk a little bit about your story, how that happens. And now you're the director of coaching here, which is awesome. And then just everything that's been going on too. I mean, let's face it, the market is, got so many questions, and I've been shooting a lot of videos on it, and there's a lot of misnomers out there and all of that stuff. So first off, you want to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Yeah. This will be, we'll put it on the podcast. And then I think we also put a video up. Am I right, Tom? We put a video up on YouTube as well. So for anybody who wants to watch it like that, but let's get right into it. Like right off the bat, like, who are you? Like how'd you get into real estate? How'd you get here? Like, where do you want to start? Like,
well, my husband he's been in real estate 32 years now.
Okay.
Silver Fox. He's been at it a minute or two.
Yeah.
So we waited till our kids were school age. I'd had different, background in management and training. And I'd always kind of ended up being the trainer at every job I've had.
Okay.
And then was doing some self-employed side hustle kind of stuff when kids were little.
Okay.
And then once they were—
How many kids?
2.
Okay.
They're outdoor cats now. They're grown.
Outdoor cats.
Outdoor cats. We just—
Let's hope the coyotes don't get them.
Leave them out there to do their thing. Show you. Go your own way.
Okay.
So we, once our youngest was in school, decided, he's like, if you're going to work that hard at something, and I was putting a lot of time and effort. I had a little business with dog shows, setting up clothing booths at dog shows.
What?
Seemed random. And it was not by intention, not even really a dog person.
You were
per
setting
se.
up what? I don't know anything about this.
Like,
were you
making
just
t-shirts.
Tell me you were driving around in that Dumb and Dumber truck with like please
around in the Dumb and Dumber truck.
Okay, all right.
But the making t-shirts with all the different dog breeds. And the one thing that was good about that business that lent itself to real estate is you realize there's so many different breeds of people. And there's different breeds of people that go with different, like I could almost see it a mile away. You're like, oh, okay, this person that's a Sheltie person.
Yeah.
Or like 100% like Schnauzer, or like
fussier
breeds, fussier people.
This is really weird, but like I do see it, but this has never come up on a show before. Don't you, when you look at people, see animals, like they look like an animal? Like, don't you look at people and you're like, oh, they look like a Doberman Pinscher. Oh, they look like, no.
Yeah, I see it more personality wise, just from my aspect of being shoulder to shoulder with like, just like 150 different breeds of dogs.
Yeah.
So the one thing I've learned a lot about dogs that I can pretty much call it, like even obscure breeds, people are like, how do you know what my dog is? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, a Schipperke. You don't see that very often. And they're like, how do you even know what my dog is?
I didn't even know this.
Past life.
Wow.
Fun fact of the day.
You're a dog person.
Fun fact number 1 of the day.
So you love dogs.
Yeah.
And that's why you compared your children to cats.
Yeah, exactly.
Just want to make that connection.
Yeah,
little subtle, you have some explaining to do for your children.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
I love dogs.
Their cats are less maintenance, right? Leave out a bowl of food, let them do their thing.
They're a waste of space.
Yeah, there you go. So there's my parenting style.
Remember that movie, All Cats Go to Heaven?
No.
Oh, that's right. That never happened. I'm not Tom does not like that.
It's not that I'm not a dog person. We had a rescue dog this winter in Mexico, and actually got it adopted. It now lives in Canada, out by Riding Mountain National Park on like 80 acres, and it's living a great life. Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
How many languages does it speak?
Well, mostly just dog.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Just making
primarily,
sure. I didn't know. Well, you just threw this at me before the show, the French thing. I didn't even know.
Well, French Canadian, right?
Or whatever. Yeah. Well, I guess that makes sense. All right, so you start off there. I just learned something. I had no idea about that. But at this time, your husband's in real estate.
Yes.
And
so he said, if you're going to put that much blood, sweat, and tears and time
Yeah.
into a business, you may as well actually be making money. Now, at that point in Manitoba, we're in Winnipeg and in our city, you could not have a second job.
Yeah.
If you had a real estate license, you had to be full-time, and that had to be your
What do you mean? That was like a
income.
Canadian rule?
No, it was like the Winnipeg board rule.
Wow.
And it was one of the last, I think it was the last, they only dropped that a few years ago.
I was going to say, like, what?
So in order to do it, you had to like go all in, because you couldn't just like, I still got my other job, so I'll just tinker with this. Like you had to be all in. Now at that point, we've got a mortgage, we've got 2 young kids. If we're going to do this, like we got to treat this as a business.
Right.
This is not like, we always had like, okay, so he's got his real estate business, but then we always had my salary when I was in management or whatever to kind of fall back on. So now there's no fallback. If we're both doing this 100% commission, you're starting every year at 0, like it's getting real, real fast.
I know that story.
Yes,
I know that story. Like we'll talk about this more at the advance, but I quit my full-time. I get asked this question, by the way, all the time by people on the road, and they're, it's usually younger people who are like, hey, I'm doing this on the side, or it's not always actually younger people. Now that I think about it, but I'm doing this on the side, whatever, but like, I don't know when to go full-time. Do I go full-time now? Do I not go full-time now? And it's there's so much responsibility with the answer to that question. You know what I mean? Because for me, it's like when you tell someone your story, they now think that that's the advice you're giving them. And for me, it's like, hey, just like the 150 breeds, everyone's a different breed. Yeah. So like when I did that, I knew I was going to be okay. I knew that even if I wasn't okay, I was going to be okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like meaning, even if it didn't work out, I'd find a way. I have always had this, it's so weird because I'm such a mix of optimist and pessimist from the perspective of like, I think I said on stage once, I equally love people and hate people, It's like, I love them to death, but then they drive me crazy. Right.
Well, I think that's just the part of the human condition.
But like from a
and being in real estate, you learn to hate people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But like I see all of the negative pessimism, like whatever, like around, I see it, believe me. But I'm telling you, like when it came to my condition or came to I'm always so eternally optimistic. I know I'm always going to be okay, even if it doesn't look that way. And so to give someone else the advice when I'm talking to them and I'm going like, hey, here's what I did. I'm always kind of like, hey, I don't know you like that though. Like this, that might be the worst advice you ever get, like you need to have a little bit of safety there. You need to know that, all of that. But for you're going in, saying, hey, I got to make this happen. I got to, this has got to work. Yeah. Right. But at the time, what success level is your husband seeing at that time? Like
he was a solid mid-level producer.
Okay.
And so if we're like, okay, so we're going to brand ourselves now as a husband and wife team and go up against some of these, there's some big dogs in our market that really had the market share, that they were the big bus bench names. Like,
the bus bench,
because
that's your
clientele. In the city.
So because everyone buying a house is taking the bus.
They're standing right in front of that bus bench going,
this is
going to be the agent.
Always boggled my mind. Yeah. Hey, I don't have a car, but I'm going to buy a house. Anyway.
But there was some big names that you're going up against, and they had, because they were big producers, they had big budgets.
Yeah.
And so I can't outspend them in marketing, but I can outwork you.
Yeah.
Because these guys were also guys at the point in their career where they're like, I'm not doing an open house. I'm going to the lake.
Yeah.
Come full circle.
Yeah.
Look at me buggering off to Mexico
we'll talk about
right?
This. Yeah.
But at that point, I'm like, I can outwork you.
Yeah.
And so we really had to dedicate time out of our day that, okay, drop the kids off at school. This is prospecting time that we need to generate business. And then we got really serious and intentional about that, and a whole lot of trial and error. Yeah. We were just talking the other night. It's funny how many things we tried over the years. Okay, I saw this idea. Let's try that.
Yeah.
And you put like, okay, well, it's going to cost us $2,000. Okay, well, we're going to try this. And some of them worked and some of them didn't.
Yeah.
And yet the things when people say, well, what are you doing now? We're still running a top producing team.
Yeah.
One of the top teams in Canada. And when people say, well, what's working and what's generating?
Yeah.
It's the classic traditional. People are like, well, that's old school. We're like, I don't care what you call it, if it works.
Yeah. Whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah.
So, when it's just listen, just sold cards and circle prospecting letters, like if it works, like who are you to say that that's not a good idea?
That's right. Yeah.
Like my bank account says differently.
Yeah.
My bank account says differently.
That's
As I'm booking my flights back to Mexico again.
Yeah.
Come at me, bro.
I literally was just talking to an audience last week, and we were talking, they said something about what's the number one piece of advice, like on leaving, or what's the number one piece of advice? Where should people be working on? What should they be looking at? And I'm like, guys, this isn't sexy. This isn't, whatever, but I'm like, it's just database. It's not going to be the next internet course you buy. It's not going to be, you're not going to pay $297 because it needs to end in a 7 to work on the internet. Like, all of that stuff. It's just database. It's just, who do you know? It's like, as the world gets bigger and bigger and larger, and I believe in that. Like, look, I do all the stuff on social, and we do all the, like, I get it. The world's bigger, like you're from another country, like the world's bigger, but the smaller we can make it for the people in our community, the smaller for the people connected to us, we can make it feel, the better we do, and it's just database.
Well, and the people in our database that have worked with us before, that already know us, like us, trust us. You think that you're the only agent that they know?
Of course not.
And relationships change all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like it might've been, you were their ride or die agent when they split up and, bought their own house, and now they're joining up together. Well, it could be new boyfriend's best friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Is an agent that you're like, sorry, we got to use him, or what, like things happen, but the tighter that you keep that, like when they're like, no, like this has been my person for years. This isn't like, this is who we're using. So it's, those relationships are so important, and you have to be so intentional with them. That doesn't just happen by fluke. It's like, but I sent them a calendar every year. It's beyond that. Like, thanks for the free nothing who puts calendar on their wall anymore.
Well, I mean, a lot of agents are still sending out magnets, and now people have stainless steel.
Yeah.
And they're like, why doesn't it work as well anymore? And I'm like, well, it doesn't really stick to the new fridge.
Exactly.
Like, it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, there are certain things that need to adapt and evolve, but then there's certain things that you stick with what works.
Yeah.
But when I think about all the trial and error, and we were just talking about this the other night, all the trial and error over the years, if we had a coach at that point saying, okay, let's build this out. We're going to start here. No. You're going off course. Let's go on track and build this out.
Right.
We could have been here so much sooner.
Yeah.
Than trying to, as we say, as a coaching team, we failed forward.
Yeah.
I got lots of what not to do stories that I learned the hard way. But you end up getting where you're going to be if you're intentional with it, and you keep trying to just aim for better, or keep tracking and measuring. It blows my mind how many agents don't track and measure what they're doing and what's working and what the ROI is. And it's like, you've never tracked this.
As long as they stay busy, they feel like it's okay. Yeah.
It's like, when you say systems, like a freaking Excel spreadsheet can be what your system is for tracking it, but at least you're tracking and measuring and saying, okay, but we've tried that 3 times now. It's not working. Here's what is working. We're going to take the budget out of that, put it into this. I'm blessed and by knowing what your strengths are and where your limitations are. Like, I'm blessed that my husband has that mathematics brain, that he analyzes all of that all the time. I don't have a face for math. That's not my department, right? That's it. But there's certain things then that I bring to the table. Right. And that was a lesson that we had to learn early on, because when we're first getting, teaming up together, we both thought we both needed to do everything. And that's when balls were getting dropped. Yeah. It's like, no, we both don't need, as you've said it before, cellmates, right? We were 100%, we were cellmates. Yeah. And then when we started realizing, that's a Jeff job and that's a Reagan job. That's right. And then as we continued to grow, it also made it that much easier than to say, and that's going to be a someone else job. Yeah. And this is going to be the part I keep, and this is going to be a someone else job, and this is going to be the part that I keep. So, and that's how you scale for growth.
Well, so I love, so you were talking about how, okay, we spent 2,000 here, 2,000 here, 2,000 there. And it's not that those things were bad. I mean, if they're selling, they're probably working on some level. Yeah. But like, you've heard me say this a million times, doing the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. Yeah. Right. And I use the classic example, and I say, hey, I always knew I wanted to be a good dad. If I did it when I was 8, probably messed that process up, it's just not going to work. And so, you go through different seasons and you prepare yourself. And then all of a sudden that thing that was good back there, but just not the right time. Now, because you've put yourself in a better position, you've worked on the other parts that you need to have there. Now it comes right timing. And it's like, oh, now that thing works beautifully, where someone else is jumping on Instagram going, this thing sucks. It doesn't work. I tried it. Or you see like in our groups or other groups, people will say things like, hey, anybody have experience with blank? And then you'll see the threads and people are like, worst thing ever, terrible, whatever.
And the next comment,
and the next one is
ever.
Made my business. Oh my God, and it's just, guys, like everything is not like doing the right thing at the wrong time is the wrong thing. And so a coach kind of helps you with that process of no, you're getting way too ahead here. There are seasons for everything and you can't skip those seasons. Crops don't grow if you skip seasons. Like you gotta go at the right time, right?
Yeah. And when you're building a business, you're building a business for longevity.
Yeah.
So there's no, when I said last year at the advance, there's no just in real estate.
Yeah.
Like how many top level producers do we know?
Yeah.
Like so many. And I have never once talked to a top producing agent who is like, when I say, how did you build your business? How did you get to where you are? Oh,
everybody's missing it. You just did this.
I did this and then bought a golf membership. I don't need to do anything anymore. This is all, like, it doesn't work that way.
There's no just.
It's multiple things and you do what works for you. And what worked for you in your business might not necessarily be what works for me in my business and my market. There's different markets, and you have to be authentic to who you are.
Yeah.
But if the more intentional you are with figuring that out, and the earlier that you figure that out and what is going to make sense for you, not everyone necessarily wants to be, like an Instagram star. This is what their primary thing is going to be. For some people, they excel at that core 100, the business to business networking, right? For other people, they're like, no, I am just mother hen in my community and I am right in there with all that stuff. For other people are like, oh God, with children? No, hard no. So you have to be authentic to who you are and the kind of business that you envision for yourself, and then do the things that are going to get you there. But having a coach helping you figure that out and keeping you on target, because shiny object syndrome in this business, like there's the running joke that if you want to make money in real estate, then, build something to sell to realtors, because we are like,
they say, how do you get rich in real estate? And they say, what? They go $29 a month at a time. Like that's the but the common denominator of what you just said, though, where you're like, look, there's no whatever. Some people don't want to be Instagram stars. Other people are. Other people don't want to. The common thread is visibility. So whether they are on the board of every charity in their city, whether they are that mother hen, whether they are the person who's great with the core 100, whether they are great on video, whether they're the open house king or queen, whether they are, whatever it is, the common thread is they're visible somehow. You know what I'm saying? It's like
to their relevant audience.
When you run into two celebrities right now, let's say you're walking through LA and you see two celebrities, right? And one of them is a star from Friends. They were, whatever. Like I ran into one time, I sat on a plane next to Joey. I don't remember his real name, Matt LeBlanc. But he was on that, right? And then you run into Logan Paul, and he cut his teeth on YouTube and these other places. How I know them doesn't matter. All I know is that I know them. You see what I'm saying? And the visibility is the common thread. And that's the thing in our business, is that in the world we live in today, visibility is the win. There's no but there are common threads of like, these are necessary. You can't get into real estate and go, it'd be like getting into a relationship and going, I'm going to have the best relationship ever. I'm just never going to do anything anybody ever wants to do. And I'm not going to compromise on any level. Well, this is not going to go well, And so when it comes to real estate, when it comes to whatever, it's visibility. It's how am I visible here? What am I doing? Or because I'm not comfortable with that, or because I'm not sure what to do, am I then doing other things to distract me so that I don't feel bad about myself, that I'm not being out there, but hey, I'm doing these busy things over here. Yeah, but these things are not visible. They're not giving people an opportunity to work with you. And it really breaks down to that. Like, it's that simple. But
and I think quite often too, we get tripped up on trying to make everything perfect before we do anything.
Right.
So like, no, I need to make my listing presentation perfect before I can go out there.
Right.
And so you end up just endlessly in your office trying to perfect something, but you don't have a plan. You don't have you're analyzing over like graphics and little things.
What could go wrong? What's this? What's that?
Yeah. So now there is something to be said for being good at what you do.
Of course.
And that certainly needs to be part of it. And that was a big reason why I ended up in this chair right now.
Right.
So I remember my first year and I'm thinking like, okay, I got this. We're already working with, a seasoned agent. I have heard him on the phone all the time.
Got it. Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah.
I aced my real estate exam. So clearly I got this.
Nice.
I was the one.
You were the one.
I was the
Nice.
one. Yeah. Book smart.
Yeah.
So I was feeling pretty good about myself. My first year, there was 2 transactions that I totally bungled. And it was on my inexperience that I just thought I knew more than I did.
Oof.
And if I had stopped to ask more questions and say, wait a minute, what's this other agent doing? Is this legit?
Yeah.
I not only lost the transaction, in one case, I lost a client.
Yeah.
And that would have been a really good client to hang on to.
Yeah.
That would have kept bearing fruit for a long time. And I'd have been promoted at every job I'd ever had.
Yeah.
I'd always ended up becoming the trainer. I was used to being the one who's good at what I did.
Yeah. You've been conditioned to believe this is how this is going to go.
Feeling of, oh my God, I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
That was horrifying.
Yeah.
So I didn't even realize I was in a sleeper of an office at that point. Well, I'm still in the same office, but it ain't no sleeper no more. Because I bought it.
Yeah.
But at that time, there wasn't really any training or anything. And I didn't really know that this industry was a thing.
Yeah.
It had never really been on my horizon. And we went to our brand's, our national conference, first time going to a conference like that.
Yep.
Because at first we were like, well, let's hang out with a bunch of realtors. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And then we get there and we're like, oh, networking is a thing. And I can have conversations about marketing ideas and strategies and stuff with people who are not my competition from all across the country and forge these relationships that have just
that's the number one reason. Like when you look at so we have the advance coming up in October, right?
Right.
And that's actually why we're together. Like we're going over the advance, we're going over the agenda. I would love to think that it's because they want to come see me and it's the whatever, but the number one reason that people actually go to an event, go to a real estate event, go to whatever is networking. Number one.
Yeah, it's been pivotal for our business.
Yeah.
Like it's been a good chunk of our annual revenue is referrals across North America, but primarily across Canada.
Right.
For our team for relocation. We're a military city. There's a whole lot of movement and a lot of corporate relocation being dead center in the country.
Right.
And those relationships of being able to say, not just like, sure, I'll pick a name out of a book and send it to you, but it's saying like, oh no, I got a guy in Edmonton.
I know. Yeah.
And he is fantastic. I would trust him with like my children,
right.
Like go. So that's been really powerful. But the first time hearing a trainer saying, well, this is what you say when a seller is throwing this at you, this is what you say, this is how you get around it. And I was like,
oh. But you were used to winging it, right?
I was
like you were
super
so used
into
winging it, whatever. And all of a sudden you kind of fell on your face and you're like, wait a second. So then you go somewhere and you hear someone say like, hey, like, it's like training. This is what, and you're like, and it connected, like the synapses, you were like,
yeah,
oh my God, you're right. That is what you should. Yeah.
So I bought all the CDs.
Yep.
At that time.
By the way, my first product I ever created was a 5-disc CD.
For sure it would have been, right?
Yeah.
And I would listen to them in the car and practice them. And then I'd be like, okay, we got a listing presentation on Thursday. I'm going to try this, right? And then you see, you're like, holy cow, it worked. It worked. Like, and you're like, okay, so this is a thing. And I just became kind of voracious and consuming. Like, I want to be good at this.
Yeah.
And I realized that the level of mediocrity in our industry,
at best,
right? You could be 1% better than the average.
You're training up to mediocrity. Like you're pulling them from.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So I kind of became the go-to person in the office when someone's like, I don't know what to do with this guy.
Yeah.
Like the dad's chirping in and I don't know how to get around this and try and get this closed.
Yeah.
And I kind of ended up being the like, ask Reagan, she knows.
So you went the other, like here's a really important point I want to make here, because I always find a connection, like for me, I always relate to like comedians' minds and their brains and stuff and like how they think and how they, whatever. And it's interesting because you had talked about how you kind of fell on your face and like, this isn't good, this isn't whatever. Mm-hmm. One of the most common questions I get asked from new agents is they'll say, what should I do? Should I join just a regular brokerage? Should I join a team? Should I join and whenever possible, I tell them, if you have a good team in your area that's going to provide you with leads and is going to whatever, the greatest teacher you're going to have beyond just going and watching my videos and doing whatever is going to be actually taking what it is you had, stepping in front of real buyers and sellers and seeing what works, falling on your face, screwing up, because that emotion of that screw up, that emotion of feeling, like you just said the wrong thing, you're humiliated, is the greatest teacher that I'll never do that again. I will learn. I will, whatever.
Yeah.
And it goes
and walking
back
out
to
going, that didn't feel good.
Yeah,
I think I could have done that better.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I forget what I was doing. Maybe it was whatever. We'll just call it a podcast. I don't remember. But it was these comedians talking about, and they were being interviewed, and they were being asked, how do you come up with your content? And I so related to this because they're like, how do you come up with your content? It's like, well, we take some notes, we do whatever. But they're like, our real note taking is on the stage. They're like, when we hit all those different clubs, you see Madison Square Garden, you see whatever.
Yeah, we just went to one.
But all those clubs up until then, that's where we're taking notes. Because I say something and you don't respond and I make a slight adjustment. And then I say it this way and then that happened. And then I go up there and I bomb and that didn't go over well. I thought that was going to be really funny. And then I go over here and their notes are happening. Their learning is happening in front of the audience so that you finally see that final whatever. And it just reminded me, as you said that, you're like, that was it for me. Like I'm kicking into gear. I'm going to learn. I'm going to go to the conference. I'm going to learn what I need to say. I'm going to whatever. And that's honestly the advice that I have for so many agents when they're like, should I join a team? And I'm like, yeah. Team or a brokerage or something. Exactly. 100%. I always, that's why I said a good one. Where you have the right
team leader. Like for me, sitting alongside my husband, watching him in action where I'm newbie. I'm going to sit here and be a fly on the wall and observe.
Yeah.
It's like, and we'd unpack everyone
role reversal
in the
for
car.
You guys.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So when we would unpack that after, he's like, did you notice how little we actually talked about this and how much I let them share? Like you observed that. So there was another agent in our office that started the exact same day I did. Mm-hmm. And 2 years in now, we are getting really busy and we kept going to this girl to help us with coverage for open houses and ad calls and stuff. So we said, like, let's just make this a thing. Like, just join us. And we were astounded now that we're all shoulder to shoulder of how much she didn't know and how much more I knew. Just having those opportunities to sit at the table and watch those tricky conversations. Will you cut your commission? Well, this guy said he would do it for 4%. Like hearing that and watching it in action and seeing how all of that goes down is so much more powerful than like, I've read the script once. I think I'm going to go learn it now. Like,
is that your impression? I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Not of you.
No, of a newer agent. No, of a newer agent. That was But it's so true though, right? It's not, and even the next level of that is not just watching someone, which is awesome. Like that's how you start to, get it. But the emotion, like I remember watching this thing once and they said, this is how powerful emotion is. This is how powerful, if I said to you, where were you October 26th, 1984? You'll be like, no, what are you talking about? Like, I have no idea. Right. But if I say to you, where were you September 11th, 2001? And everyone remembers exactly where they were. I remember it. Like I just got flashback to it right now, like where I was, what happened, whatever. Why did that imprint on my brain? Because that's how a powerful emotion is, right? Yeah. So now when you put yourself in positions where you're in front of people and you're not just reading the script now, you're not just watching, like I said, my videos or whoever's videos or whatever. Now you say something and you screw it up and the person realizes that you screwed up. And that now they're questioning your professionalism. And now they're going, well, I'm going to sell my house with you. You can't even like, come on, you just blubbered over. You can't even talk. You can't even whatever. That emotion imprints on us in a way that expedites that growth from that point forward, almost like nothing else we can do. You have to actually get out in front of people.
You have to practice it. Yeah. And I say that with newer agents that start in a brokerage all the time. I'm like, I can't just tell you this one time, this is how you answer that question. Right. And then you just have that. It takes practice. Right. Like if you're sitting at the listing table, you're in someone's kitchen, you're sitting there talking about listing their home and they're asking you a challenging question and you're like, oh, I heard how to answer this once. Give me a second. Yeah. You have Google? With something about, just give me a second. Just give me, like you've blown it. Yeah. You've totally blown it.
Or you just start going on and on about how nothing has anything to do with what they're talking about. And they pick up pretty quick that you don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah. That you were blowing smoke.
You've been
Absolutely.
Exposed. Yeah.
So when you're learning scripts and you're practicing these things, it's not like, oh, I don't want to be scripted. Yeah. It's like you're building a toolbox in your brain.
That's exactly right.
So that when those situations come up, you're like, I know exactly what to do. And I just reach back and here's exactly how we're going to handle that. I'm glad you brought that up. Here you go.
I called the buffet. I say, you go into the buffet and you come in the mood for dessert. I know it's over here. I'm
it's
in
like
the mood
you're building
up
a resource center in your brain that you're always, you're like, And to say like, oh no, I'm too good at this point now.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Like, what professional athlete do you know
No.
that doesn't have a coach, that doesn't go to practice, that
Right.
practices way more than game time?
I know how to shoot free throws. I don't need to do that anymore. I get it.
Yeah. Like, you think like, Wayne Gretzky just got to a point where he's like, I already know how to shoot goals. I
Yeah.
got this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't need to. No, he was still doing the drills so that it is instinct at game time.
Yep.
You don't want him like skating around in the,
Yeah.
at that end of the going, what was I supposed to do
becomes-
here?
right.
It's supposed to be second nature. Like, oh, I know how to get around this
Right.
guy and still get to the net.
Right.
Like, it's instinct.
Yeah.
But that only comes from practicing it and
Yeah.
failing it and getting better and getting better.
Yeah.
So the true pros do that. And of course you can accelerate that if you got a coach now saying, hey,
Yeah.
too far, try it again, go this way. This
Right.
is what you do. Like, if I think back to some of the listing appointments that I had over the years that didn't go well, just to be able to sit and kind of
Yeah.
unpack that again with a coach after, to be able to say, so that didn't go well.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about it.
Right.
And I have my students say that all the time, like, well, I had an opportunity for this and I didn't get it.
Right.
And then when we talk about, well, what did you say and how did that go? You figure out where that trouble spot is.
Yeah.
Well, now you're armed, like, how crappy that felt, that you don't want that to happen again. Now you're armed that much stronger
Yeah.
for that next time around.
You eliminate uncertainty. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's where a lack of confidence comes from. It comes from uncertainty, right? When we did the advance last year and we talked about the listing appointment, we talked about that line you use on a scale of 1 to 10. What are 2 or 3 things need to be a 10 in order for you to feel comfortable making the right decision to hire me before I leave here today? The reason why that doesn't struggle when it comes off of my tongue, whatever, is because I'm a pro. Like, I know my stuff. It's up here. Like, there's not many questions you're going to throw me. Like, we did a Q&A recently at an event, and the lady was trying to feed me all the questions beforehand. And she's like, hey, I think we're going to ask you about this. We're going to whatever. And I was just like, hey, I was going to say, hey, lady, but I wouldn't be like, hey, lady. I was just like, whatever her name was. I'm just like, hey, I'm like, not necessary. She's like, well, I just don't want you to whatever. And I said, hey, you pay me to be here because I actually know this stuff. Like, it's not like hey, as long as you ask this, I've got this down.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you guys are going to ask me that's going to throw me off. Like, I know this industry. I know, I'm speaking from real. They were asking me entrepreneurial questions. I'm not going into the catalog of like, okay, I think so-and-so said this, so I need to memorize what that is. I know it. I live it. It's all a part of my headspace ecosystem, so to say, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you immerse yourself into the training of what it actually means to be. And we talked about we keep talking about newer agents, but the truth is, even when people transition into being a team leader, when people transition into being a CEO,
being a team leader is
all new,
totally different from just being a salesperson.
But you still gotta know, you still have to learn, learn what that interaction is like with the people in your office. You've got to learn, what stuff it is you're doing, you're not doing. Like, it's still the same thing. It's just, there's this layers to this, Yeah. So anyway,
and people, it's funny what you said about confidence. People wait for confidence. Like, you can't order that on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it shows up in a box like, oh, good, my confidence came.
Yeah.
Well, let's go get a listing today.
Like, it's here in 24 hours.
Yeah. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
But we wait for confidence before doing, but the confidence comes from doing.
Confidence comes from eliminating a lack of certainty. Like, literally, that's what it's really that simple. For everybody watching, for everybody listening, guys, a lack of confidence comes from a lack of certainty. When we are not certain on what's going to happen, it's why people are afraid to get on stage. Yeah. And they're like, I don't even know. Statistically, it's worse than death. Number 2, they fear is death. Number 1 is public humiliation, public speaking, because you don't know. How is this going to go? Are they going to figure out I'm a fraud? Are they going to boo me? Are they going to laugh at? Is this just going to go real? Am I going to forget everything? Am I going to fall? Am I going to uncertainty? Right.
But people miss out on so many opportunities from that fear of failure that they just freeze up. I had one of my students last year. She was in tears on her call. She had an opportunity for a listing. She kept getting opportunities for listings. She's like, they're never going to list with me. So I just gave it to someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, flag on the play.
Time out.
What now?
Time out. Yeah.
Where then a year later, as we've really worked through that and had those action steps to actually do things, now she's like, oh, like, you watch her Instagram now. And I'm like, like, I just, that feeling of just watching her win and kill it now.
Yeah. Same person. Just exactly.
I love it. I love it.
Have you ever,
so much.
One of my favorite interviews was a really quick one, but it was with Usain Bolt, right? Who was known as the fastest man in the world, right? And they asked him in this interview, like, how nervous he gets at the races, you know, because everybody's watching and he's trying to set records and he's trying to whatever. And I was almost going to do this in a Jamaican accent, but I've made the wise decision not to. But he, you know, I did it in my head and it didn't go over well. So they ask him this and he's like, I don't get nervous at all at the race. What are you talking about? You know, he's like, all of that was handled in the practice. I now know what I'm capable of, and I know that they're not. He's like literally, I can run faster than them. I know what my time is. I know, like, you're all seeing it for the first time, but like, this is what I've been practicing for. All the work was put in, all the tough stuff, all the nerves, all the everything.
This is what I do.
Once I get there, I'm just completing what I already practiced for. Like, that's it. I know that I'm faster now. Like, it's not like there's nothing they're going to do today that's going to make them faster than me. It's not possible. Right. And that whole mentality always kind of stuck with me because, you know, when you talk about going to a listing appointment, or you talk about stepping up and meeting a buyer, or you talk about putting your team together or doing, you know, whatever. I'm always a believer that when you do things, they shouldn't be the first time you do them. Meaning, I do things so many times up here, and through practice and through like visualizing and through by the time I'm doing something, you know, it's like people say, do you get nervous at the advance? You know, when you get out there, I'm like, not really. Like, I don't, you know, there's like a normal amount of just excitement, nerves.
But that's the thing.
But I've done this up here. I've already lived this.
Yeah.
Like, the night before, I've seen it. Like, I'm just following through.
But when you look at the biological things that are happening, the sweats and the jitters and everything, the exact same thing happens when you're super excited about something.
Yeah.
And when you're like that fear, the anxiety, it's the exact same things. And our brains are so easily programmed.
Oh God.
And if you learn more about getting more intentional on that, you're like, I am so excited about getting up here. I'm so excited to share this with these guys. Like, we work so hard on the agenda and all of these sessions and everything that we have to offer. We know, like, we're excited about everyone at the advance walking out being so much more armed for everything that's happening in the market. Like, we're excited about that. It's not like, oh, I'm nervous. I hope they like it. I hope they want, like,
do you know what's crazy?
It's more excited about sharing it.
Here's what's crazy. Every reaction we have, everything we do, everything we feel, everything, whatever, ultimately comes down to the question that we ask ourselves, which is, what does this mean? So if you look at most people, very successful, not successful, top producer, not top producer, whatever, many of them are in the exact same positions, the same opportunities. They're in the same places. They both, whether they recognize it or not, ask themselves the question, what does this mean? And one answer is one way and one answer is another way, which puts them in a completely different direction. So let me explain to you what I mean. One person goes to a listing appointment. One person goes on their first thing and they bomb and they do whatever, right? And they don't do well. They're exposed. It's not good. And both of those situations where both of them went into a listing appointment, it was the largest one they'd ever had, whatever, they both fail. The difference is when they both subconsciously ask themselves the question, what does this mean? One of them says, this means I just got opportunities at higher price listings, which I've never had opportunities at before. And I'm going to go get better at this and I'm going to get more of these and I'm going to get them. And the other one answers the question and goes, this means, like, I've thought all along, I wasn't good enough for this. I was out of my league. They did what they should have done and didn't go with me. And they had the exact same result, but they answered the question of what does this mean differently. Yeah. And that's the difference in every situation, whether we're talking about work, whether we're talking about your personal, whether we're talking about your fitness, whether we're talking about your whatever it is, everyone subconsciously asks themselves the question, what does it mean? And what everyone needs to learn to do is to assign different meanings, because both meanings technically could be correct.
Yeah. But
one of them benefits you and one of them tears you down. And God knows there's enough people in this world that want to see us torn down. Don't do it to yourself.
And it's completely normal to have those feelings of like, oh God, I'm not enough. Like that is like a huge movement these days. Like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
But again, having someone in your corner that cares about you to be able to help kind of pull you through that and being like, well, here's what I know.
Right.
Right. And being able to focus on here's what I know and here's what I know I'm good at. And
right.
here's how I see now that I wasn't armed to go in there.
Right.
I wasn't as prepared as I thought I should have been. Now I know more.
Right.
I'm in so much more of a stronger position to go into the next one.
There you go.
Because now I understand with that higher end seller what they need.
Yep.
and the kind of information that they're expecting me to prepare for. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I've shone a light on that. Here's a gaping hole in my process.
Right. It's Canadian process.
That, but at least now you know about it. So you betcha.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So then but now you know the hole that you have to fill.
Yeah.
Right. So now you know the information that you need to source out, that you need someone to help you figure out. It's all figure outable.
Yeah.
I love that quote from Marie Forleo. She's one of my favorites to follow. Everything is figure outable, right? You just got to break it down onto the level that you need to figure out. Yeah. So sometimes our failures are so enlightening to see exactly that's what my hole is.
Well, what does it mean?
Now we need
there
to
it is.
rebuild.
You're back to it. What does it mean? And by the way, who is enough? We're all human. Like nobody's perfect. Nobody's whatever. There's no one really, if you're looking for the perfect view of what we view everybody as, whatever, nobody's really enough if you're going to put that standard on it. But what makes you enough, what allows you to create that narrative in your head that says, I am, and this is what I'm meant to do. And this is the work behind the scenes. Yeah. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like I used to, because I would go to events and people would act a certain way. And I'm just like, what the heck? Like, it's just me. Like, why are people acting like this? Like, what's, I don't like, what, because you know all your faults, all your whatever. And then I got to a point where like I put in so much work and I spend so much time thinking about these things and in some ways using the gift that was given to me, like in that way, that you finally get to a point, and I think everybody needs to get to this point, regardless of what their thing is, whether it's they're doing what I'm doing, they're selling real estate, they're doing whatever, that you get to a point where you go, no, I actually deserve this. This is right.
Yeah.
Because there's no perfect person.
Earned it.
Yeah, I've earned it. I've earned this. And not only have I earned it, but they've earned this position right here to benefit from what I'm doing. So you get into a position where it's like you go to put that listing on the market, you go to whatever, and it's like you in your head know how much work you do, know how much you're going to put into marketing, know how much, and you're like, no, I've earned this. I'm worth this. This is good. And by the way, I'm not going to not believe that and not give them the opportunity to work with the process I've created, and then go work with someone else that's not going to do it as well. And you start to make those connections. But
then that brings you to the next point as you're getting that success and everything where, you've been working out to that. And then you get must be nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we,
you talking about the others? You talking about the naysayers? Yeah.
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 So my husband and I, this past year, I guess to backtrack a year before, we had decided.
Well, let's go before you even go there. How did you and I, because let's get up to that for a second, but how did we even get connected? So because I want to go to that point I know you're going to right now.
So you get to a point of burnout.
Yep.
Where like, this isn't fun anymore. I'm just in the grind and we're just on that hamster wheel of just endless appointments and running and busyness.
Yeah.
Right. And not always necessarily productivity,
right.
But
just never ending.
Just relentless.
You go from trying to figure out how do I make a transaction happen to now it's like, how do I just relax?
I'm like, I would like to take my phone and throw it in the river. Yeah. I don't want to talk to anybody. I am over it. I don't care. Go.
Yeah.
Blessings of COVID. Sometimes like when things were kind of shutting down, okay, breathing room here. Let's figure this out. And so we had taken a road trip out west. Our province was completely shutting down. You're locked in a car with your spouse for 10, 12 hours at a time. You have an opportunity to talk some stuff out. What do you want to be when we grow up? Right? What do we really want to do? At that point, I was managing my brokerage.
Yep.
I was managing partner and I didn't like it. I didn't want to be the manager.
Yeah.
The day-to-day of that, it wasn't my thing.
So everybody it's funny to hear that, and we're not going to go this route, but that's such an interesting point because what most people do within their real estate business is they're like, well, what's the next step? I got to be the leader.
Yeah.
And that's not everybody's role, right? It's like sometimes you get to a certain level of success and you're like, you know what? I'm an awesome marketer. I would not be happy doing that. I'm a 3. I'm a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to get a 1 and a 2.
Well, and even if you own a brokerage, how many hats do you wear?
Yeah.
We were just talking about this yesterday with running a team.
Yeah.
So, you've got the listing agent, you've got your administrative work, you've got your transaction coordination, you've got your marketing, your listing agent, your buyer's agent, all these things. Well, right now you're just wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
You're just, all those roles are you. And same thing when you own a brokerage, you've got to be good at broker stuff, right? Knowing the Brokers Act, knowing you said what to them. You can't do that. You need
liability
to have like
stuff and
all of that stuff, right? And then all the day-to-day management of staff and dealing with, administrative side of things, and then, running the office in terms of just facilities management, never mind recruiting and training and mentoring.
And you're like a full-time psychiatrist. And you're dealing with adults acting like children who are having drama with each other, and this one really thinks this. And
it's like parenting teenagers.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're just a special breed of humans.
Yeah.
As realtors.
Yeah.
So it was a lot, and I was like, okay, this piece I don't like. This piece I don't like. I don't care if I ever sold another house again. I really love the coaching and training.
Yeah.
I love watching other people win, and using my knowledge and everything that I've kind of collated over the years, that I can see, like, in our perspective with real estate was that we solve people's real estate problems.
Right.
This is what we do. You got a real estate problem, here's how I'd fix it. Which kind of evolved into, I see problems now with your real estate business.
Yeah.
I know how to fix that.
Yeah.
I can help you build out a plan.
Right.
And what you need is going to be different from what you need.
Right.
I love that. And then you watch them get it and you're like, yeah, go. Love that. So I basically said, that's what I want to do. And it's like the universe just aligned that. I think it was 2 days
Were we already
later.
Connected though?
No. Well, I was following you on social media.
Okay. So I
used a lot of your
gotcha.
materials and stuff in training.
Okay.
That earlier that spring was the first time I heard you speak live. We were at the C21 Global Conference in LA.
Okay.
So that was where I had first met you.
So it was a year before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we'd share a lot of the same philosophies. And I kind of went back to a lot of your resources a lot with my agents. And I was like, that's really the only part I want to do. And then you put out a video on Instagram, guys, we're growing like crazy. We need coaches. If you've ever been interested, let's connect.
Yeah.
And I remember I showed my phone to my husband, like, oh my God. He's like, well, like, message him. Like, let's go. So flash forward, we, submitted a video and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we got connected and
at first you were a coach with us.
Yeah. So I was coaching, and right away was starting to take on some students. And I just, over the next year or so, so last year's advance was my first advance.
But I think that's where, because like we were at the advance, I think we were at the pool or something that Saturday. It was like pre-event, right?
Yeah.
And at that, you basically like raised your hand and you were like,
I'm like,
hey,
we've got some opportunities.
I want exactly whatever. And I remember just looking and going, well, I would love that. Like I knew it right as soon as you said it. I was like, like you're exactly what I would love to.
I literally said, I'm like, I got some feedback for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you're going to like it all.
Yeah.
Because we've got some
I loved that.
holes in our processes here that we've got some opportunities to up our game. And I can see the vision of it, of like, here's where it could be. And team player, I'm like, whatever you want to do with this information, like I'm willing to help out. And so then we got talking morning after the advance, we went and took possession of our new place in Mexico.
Well, let's go back to that a second. So let's,
and that's where we got talking more though.
Flip back though. So Mexico, where did that just come from? Like, so you were running the team, you're running the brokerage or whatever.
First epiphany was, I don't want to manage anymore. I just want to be a coach.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we still have the team. And then from there evolved into this daily running, we're done.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 years of doing the same thing.
But you had built it. It's not like you can say that 30 years ago. You guys had built up the team. You had built up the...
And so when you're looking at those different roles on a team, it's like, I'm tired of doing this role. I'm tired of doing this role.
Where did your roles
I only want to
come
do
from?
this part.
Like, where did your, like, when you look at your...
We were ready to transition into CEO mode.
Gotcha.
So that didn't come when I first started following your stuff, was we had 2 team members that we parted ways with.
Okay.
And we're like, why is this so freaking hard?
Yeah.
We keep trying to build this team and bring people alongside us. We're like, why is this so hard?
Like, we're growing, we need people, come on.
Is everyone else an idiot, or am I doing something wrong?
Yeah.
And then I found that video that you did on the 7 stages of building a team.
Okay.
From a couple of years back.
Yeah. Yeah. More. Yeah.
About 15 minutes into it, I'm like, holy crap, we're doing it wrong. Boom. I was like, oh my God, Jeff, you got to watch this. So as we started going into that, we realized, oh, we're jumping stages and not filling in blanks here.
Yeah.
And once we realize, okay, we're at a point in our life now where there's no rules that saying you can't do this until you're 65.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Like we're technically in a position now, we've worked really hard to build this business where we can do this now.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to everything is figure outable, right? Is there a way that we could actually just buy a place in Mexico? Well, then we got to figure that out.
Yeah.
We're going to need that key player on our team to help keep that going. We're going to need to figure out some systems and structures, both with the brokerage and with the team, to figure that out. So we kind of reverse engineered it and tried to figure out the timeline. In the meantime, found a place that we fell in love with online in Playa del Carmen and knew this is where we wanted to be. And so we had bought it through virtual tours.
Wow. And
we took possession the day after the advance.
I love this. So just to be clear here, what I love about this is, so you really, your first exposure to me was watching that Teams video and going, like, having an epiphany and going, oh, shoot, like, yeah, there we go, whatever. So you grab your husband, you're like, you got it, whatever. Over the years, you follow different training stuff, whatever, but you start building out your team, you start building out the infrastructure, and then you hit a place where you're kind of like, is this what we want to do forever? Like, we can have this fund, we can have this, whatever, but like, do we want to drive ourselves into the ground to where we can't even see 5 feet in front of us anymore? And then we'll start traveling. And
as I started as a coach, and then started following along with some of the team leader coaching, and then became a team leader coach, and realizing, oh, well, you can transition into CEO mode. You assign those roles to other people, and actually your input of time diminishes greatly while your income is still growing. That you have full capacity, So we'd reached a point where we're like, the work doesn't define us. There was things we wanted to do in our life. I love live music. And traveling around and seeing concerts and seeing some of my favorite acts.
That's what you're doing now.
Like, we went to Mexico City this spring to see the Foo Fighters.
Was that their last?
Just to see
that was one of their last,
Taylor
right?
Hawkins died.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So grateful that we did get to see that. And it was an incredible experience. And Mexico City is an amazing city, like just a phenomenal place to visit. So we will absolutely be back. But doing that stuff is like, we can work to enjoy the things that we want to do in life. So what do we want to be when we grow up? What do we want to do? It wasn't like, I want to be a realtor forever. It was, here's the experiences I want to have. Here's the things I want to do. And then what do I need to do to fuel that? To fund that? And it does bring me joy to watch the team succeeding and watch the brokerage grow and watch my students thrive. Like,
but you also get refreshed, I would think, on some level, because you're getting to do a lot of the things that you wanted to do. It's not that you don't still have that drive and you're not still doing things. And look, you're running our coaching program. Like, I get stuff from you.
Plans.
I was gonna say, you got stuff all the time coming in. That's awesome. But there's something about that also that's fueling you, that you're like, you get to go to these concerts and go live in Mexico and live the life you actually wanted to live, because you actually followed the process. And that's where I was going with this before, was that what I love about this so much is that, we now have somebody running our coaching program who really is doing what so many of them say they want to do, which is they want to build up the structure. They want to make everything not just about them. They want to do the parts of the business that they're really into. Not that there won't be tough times and there'll be hustle times and the whole thing, but then I want to also have it fund the things that I'm really into. And maybe I want to step away, or maybe I want to, like, we have someone running it that's exactly what they've done. Like, it's, so it's like, here's how that happens, and here's the pitfalls, and here's the
other big epiphany for us was realizing, like, because you get so good, no, but my clients, they really want me, right? They really want to work with me. I'm the one who needs to kind of drive this and be the face of it and everything.
Right.
And realizing that, like, you can hire people alongside you that are actually better at certain aspects of it, because they're specialists in it. And now, so stepping back, we came back this spring, back to Canada, and had a couple of clients who really wanted me along. Right. So here's how it got proven. Like, they think like, no, she's the expert. I want her there at the property. I'm a fish out of water at this point. This isn't what I do all the time. Whereas the people on my team are experts in it. And I'm like, you actually want Mike there. Like I can't fly solo now. Like, I'm not the expert in this anymore. There's certain things I am the expert in, and the execution of the day-to-day stuff. I've got people on my team who are far better at it. I love how one of our coaches, Justin, gives the analogy of a Swiss Army knife. Right. Now, a Swiss Army knife has all kinds of different, features to it. I can open a bottle of wine, whatever. But if I'm going to be preparing dinner, well, we know that I'm not going to. My husband would be. He does all the cooking. But if he's going to be
Yeah,
preparing
yeah,
dinner
yeah.
and chopping stuff, he wants a really good paring knife or a really
Yeah.
good butcher's knife, right? Now, in a pinch, if heaven forbid the wine opener breaks,
Heaven forbid.
I've got the Swiss Army knife
Right.
that
Right.
we're not going to go without wine. Everything is going to be okay. But
Everything's all right.
everything's going to be okay.
Relax, everyone.
No panic
The wine will
buttons.
be opened. Yeah.
We're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
But so it's in that same analogy to the business. Can I jump in and handle something if it needs to be? Yes. But am I the highest and best person to fill that role? No, not necessarily. So rather than I'm the show and I need my underlings here, I'm going to build a team of experts and specialists who are better at it than I could ever be. And I can CEO, I can help really drive it and give them that direction and support. So they have the ability and the opportunity to be that good.
And empower them. Don't just step on their toes every other way and keep correcting them and keep doing it.
What I was looking for some information on growing teams, and I'm going down rabbit holes on YouTube, and I had watched a video from another trainer, and this person had a few different team leaders on, and they're talking about their team structures, and they're basically running sweatshops. That they have to come in for 8 hours a day, and they have to grind, and they have to talk to 200 people a day, and they're like just like
that's also how you get like in trouble with the IRS, because now that's technically not a contractor anymore. But
right?
Yeah.
Like you're running a sweatshop, and I'm like, that just sounds like an awful environment for all parties concerned. I don't want to manage that way. I definitely wouldn't want to be that person.
Why would anybody want to stay there?
Like, how is that like versus what I was just describing? I want you to be really good at what you do. I want you to be really good at what you do.
Fit your
what
personality.
Do you need from me to help like get you there? And that together we're going to be so much stronger than we could ever be as one person trying to be everything.
Right.
And that we can rely on each other, and that it's not like, oh, sure, I can do the marketing and everything. We've got a killer marketing specialist on the team who's going to handle all this for you. Like all of a sudden your value proposition at that listing table just went. Rather than like, I can put the sign up, I can like,
everything.
You don't like jack of all trades or like master. Like now we've got a team of specialists of masters who are great at what they do.
Who have been placed there according to their
master of puppets.
Who've been placed there because of their
reference, like right over your head.
I actually, now that you said it, I got it. Okay, don't you look at me like that with disappointment in your eyes.
Metallica reference.
Okay,
there you
go. But you're also putting people in place according to their personality, right? So it's like they are going to be happier. They're going to be more happy when they're doing things that actually fit what they're good at. Right. And this idea in our industry that, the personality profile of somebody who drives someone around in a car and sees 6 homes and cracks jokes the whole time is the same personality as somebody who goes in to close a listing within an hour on the spot. Those are the same personalities. No, they're not. They're completely different personality profiles. So when you empower people to be who it is that they actually are, and they're not having to do all these other things, that is how you actually allow them to love what they're doing. And not that they're never going to get stressed or never going to, but it fits who they are at their core.
And it's not like, and people say like, I don't want to have to start adding an admin and adding a TC. You're already coordinating a transaction. You're already doing it. So is that highest and best use of your talents? Like, do you think a brain surgeon's is like, no, I don't need an assistant. I'm going to take time away from doing surgeries. And I'll just schedule my own appointments and send out invoices and, change bandages. No, there's people who are better at those things that are going to handle it. Like for me to think about going back now to just being, kind of owner operator where I do everything, there's no way I can.
Because you've seen it. I said this to you yesterday, right? We were talking, obviously I own a transaction coordination company, Cleared and Closed, which one of the best things we started. It literally helps people, right? But I said this to you yesterday. You don't add, because an agent said this to me the other day, you don't add transaction coordination to your services, to your company, to your whatever. They were happening all along. What you add is a transaction coordinator. The transaction coordination was happening whether you had one or not.
And they're going to be
just a matter of who was doing it.
Than you ever were.
But that was something someone said to me that they're like, I think I'm going to add transaction coordination. And I was like, McFly, that was a Back to the Future reference.
I'm older than you.
I said, well, I don't know. I got to get you back after the Metallica thing. But I'm sitting there and it's like, McFly, you're not adding transaction coordination. Like you're doing it. Like whether you recognize or not, you're doing it. You're adding a transaction coordinator. Now that is a person who will do that for you. All of these things are already happening. And then in some cases, maybe they're not happening as well because we get busy and then we drop balls and we, you know, whatever. But if you want to have that McDonald's fry experience for every one of your people, you know, where they're getting the same thing, whether you're busy, whether you're slow, that will never happen on your own. You will just keep having business come in one door, out the other, while you're just trying to control everything. And it doesn't work, you know, as you've seen in so many others, it doesn't work. So let's transition here because I love that convo. We're in the office right now because we are planning for the 2022 Jared James Advance in Nashville, Tennessee. If you like live music, there you go.
So excited.
October 24th and 25th. I will be performing at the Honky Tonk. No, I will not.
It's a good chance I will.
Yeah. I was going to say she may be. She may not remember it, but she'll be there.
I do tend to get up on stage.
But we're planning for that now. If you could just take a second here, you know, we love what you've been doing with our students and with the program and so many changes. And, you know, you even showed me some stuff yesterday we're releasing for the coaches from a training perspective, what's coming out for the students, just so many cool things happening, what's happening with our team leader coaching and all that stuff. For anybody who's watching this or listening to this right now and they're going, should I go to the advance in October? Like, you know, I got other things. Should I, shouldn't I? What would be for you like just a reason or reasons that people should say, hey, stop thinking about it. That's never going to benefit you. Just get your butt there, you know?
I'm going to come back to the word intention with this one, because I think a lot of people, they think, well, I'm going to go to this conference. My brand has this one or this one. And then they go with no real plan or intention. And they're like, it was okay. I went to a couple sessions, came away with a couple of things.
Right.
And then they end up, they come home with a pile of notes that they took in sessions with no context. That doesn't mean anything now when you find it again in a nest of papers on your desk 3 months later, and nothing ever happens. You're like, I don't know if it was really worth it for me to go. But when you go with intention, okay, these are the areas of my business right now. So when we look at, okay, right now, market's changing literally everywhere. We were talking yesterday, Canada, US,
all over the world.
All over the world, things are shifting and changing. For a lot of agents, their lead sources are changing. That traditionally, okay, I've been getting 30% of my business from this source, and now that's drying up and I'm not really sure what to do.
I wonder if most people, like you just said that, you said 30%, whatever, like you talked about numbers and whatever. There is no doubt right now that the lead sources are shifting and where lead sources are now going to be in the future. And we're going to be talking about that stuff. I wonder how many agents right now are still just staying busy and they don't know 30%, 40%, 70%. They're just going, I'm still working hard, but I feel like things are happening. This is falling apart here. This is whatever. And the truth is it's because they're not tracking and they're not noticing, oh, that lead source has been slowly diminishing. That's a frog in hot water right now. I wonder how many recognize that.
Yeah. And it's part of what we've really implemented with our students and as part of the business planning process is to really track that. Where is it coming from? Where is it likely to come from? Not just like, I want to do 15 more transactions next year. Okay. From where? Is it likely they're going to come from here? Because 7 of those came from a condo project that you had that is almost finished. So you're going to need a new lead source. We need to get ahead of that. Right. But again, so looking at where business is coming from, we have different conversations with our sellers and our buyers right now. The conversations need to look different. We want to be armed with that. We want to know what to say. We want to know, okay, so if my business is changing in some of these things, like how do I manage the finances on this? Where do I need to get ahead of? Where do I need to maybe pull back a little bit to make sure that I'm running a profitable business?
Where am I spending money?
Just
where
more.
Am I not?
I know lots of agents are like, man, I am making way too much money to be this broke. Something's not working here. So when you really think back into, again, if our role is to help you solve problems in your real estate business, what's your problem? Like, what is it? Like, come with intention. When you come to an event like this with intention, this is what I need to get out of it. I'm looking at the agenda that'll be posted soon, that we're working hard at. When that comes out and you're like, that's a session, I need to be in that room. I mean, these sessions are being put on by the best and the best in the industry. Some really incredible minds. Like when we're talking about ourselves getting to the point where we are and failing forward, like that's our collective group of coaches that have a tremendous amount of experience. And I love like our biweekly coaches calls when we all collaborate on that stuff. Every single one I have walked out of there smarter than I was an hour before. right? And we all collectively
We always
are.
say the smartest person in the room is the
Is the
room,
room,
and especially when it's a
100%.
smart room.
Yeah. So when you think about, you've got some absolute elite in our industry that are going to be there collaborating and sharing ideas, even those lobby bar glasses of wine.
Yeah.
Like there's some incredible power conversations.
That's where
there.
some of the best, come on, that's where some of the best conversations and the best learning comes from.
Totally.
You get people, like when you look at our event, you have brand new agents, you've got top teams in the world, you've got top brokerages in the world, you've got, you know, everything in between. And literally, like sometimes you're sitting at that bar and you have an opportunity to talk to someone that you would never get the opportunity to talk to. Like you could never get them on the phone. You could never, now they're a glass and a half in on wine and they are just giving you like everything that you need and helping and doing. And that happens because of the collective group that's coming.
When I first became a brokerage owner and I went to our Canada conference, and I went up to our VP and said, here's what I need to learn this weekend. Who's my center of excellence? Who do I need to talk to? He's like, for that, you talk to Gary in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
For that, you talk to George in Calgary. He's a wizard with that.
Yeah.
And what I loved last year at the Advance is when, you know, someone would come up to Joe and have some questions, and they're like, well, here's kind of the problem in my business. And I was wondering if there was a coach or someone I could talk to. And he would come like, oh, Reagan is the expert that you got to talk to her. Or he would go and grab Charles or whoever, and that we could kind of like, I mean, we do a pretty extensive matchmaking process as it is with our students and coaches anyway, but having those conversations face to face to be able to say, to kind of dig in a little bit and, well, but I'm in a small market or a large market. Like they have different sets of problems. So get really clear with, what do I need to learn? And come to us. Like, you see me, you see Joe, you see any of our coaches, like come up to us and be like, who should I talk to? Because sometimes it's like, that team leader over there, that guy, he screwed up 2 times before he figured it out. Right? Like that's who you want to talk to. That's who you want to go and have a beer with. That doesn't happen via Zoom. That happens in the room, that energy there, right? And just meeting some incredible people. I remember after that first night, we had our welcome reception and had some incredibly exciting conversations with people. I was so far, I remember I sent you a little selfie video. I'm like, I can't believe I have the opportunity to even freaking be here. Never mind be in a position to like help and empower people. Like
people
it was
telling
just
you, like they're telling you what it means and what
so
you've done.
much
And
positive energy. Like I was just overcome. It was, I am so excited again. I'm so excited for those conversations. When I think about why am I excited? It's not even about it being Nashville. Again, Nashville's a good time.
Opposite side.
You're still in Nashville, right? It's not even necessarily about, you know, sessions and stuff. It's those conversations that happen face to face, or like you just, I just love that energy.
How much different this is like how I look at it. It's like, how much different do people's businesses look when just forget about all of the information, because that's overwhelming. It's like when 1 or 2 problems are solved in their business. You know, I think about somebody who came to like one of our masterminds recently, and they said like within 15 minutes, they're like, they spent like $5-6 grand to come, and they're like, yeah, I'm good, got it. Like there it is. You know, everything else is gonna come here. Got it. Like I don't know how I didn't know this, but good to go. We're good, right? And so, you know, this is like a place where it's you know, the epicenter of, you have that opportunity. You know, everybody's coming in and they're in one place, and you have that opportunity.
And there's so many different problems that we have in our real estate businesses, right? There's people are like, well, I'm thinking about starting a team. I don't really know where to go with that. Okay, well, we can put you in that room so that you get that ground floor. Okay. Oh, geez, I didn't even know I should consider all of that stuff. Like, wow. Okay. That list alone could save you so much time, so much money of screwing it up and doing it wrong. Right. Whether there's people who are like, I've been running and I don't know how to stop. I want to be able to slow it down, but how do I
live in Mexico? I just like to go on a vacation. You know,
right. But it's people who are like, how do I have an opportunity? My sister now lives in Florida. So one of my students, now he's like, my sister lives in Florida, and I've got my opportunity to kind of have my feet in both worlds, but how the heck do I get there? Well, it's all figure outable. Let's break it down into smaller pieces and get you there. So I'm so excited. I think there's just so much value when we were going through that list of, the sessions and the information, what's so relevant right now, that if you've got problems in your real estate business or opportunities that you're not sure how to embrace, like this is where you want to be. It's not a rah about your brand or about all the, like, here's all the stats. We're not doing that. It's all about solving problems in your real estate business in a tangible way. Like, so just practical, like.
I usually start off the advance, and maybe I'll do it again this year too. And I say, whatever you came here needing, it's here. Whether you hear it from the stage, whether you hear it in a conversation in the hallway, whether you hear it while you're out at happy hour, it's all here. Whatever you need, if you come here with intention, the people are here to supply what it is that you need.
And put it out there that that's what you need.
And it doesn't need to come from my mouth. It doesn't need to come from your mouth. It doesn't need to come from, but it's here. And so the people who come with that mentality and they're like, I'm gonna figure this out, or I'm gonna go to this next level, or I'm gonna figure out why I've been a bottleneck in this area, or I'm gonna figure out whatever you need, it's there, but you got to get yourself there, right? I always think about that story with Paco, where, he tells a story about how he was, he lived out of his car. He came to the advance, and he had, I don't know if he had seen a video of mine, or I don't remember what it was, but he's just like, I don't know how, but I'm getting there. He's like, that's going to be a changer for me. And he didn't tell, a lot of intention. He didn't tell anybody he was there with, living out of his car, and, he was embarrassed by it. He's finding places to go shower, and we're buying him food. But he's like, he's wondering at the dinner, like, am I going to be able to afford, like, I don't have, whatever. And you take that situation and you fast forward now, and he's one of our coaches, and he's uber successful in real estate, and he's killing it with his daughter and his wife. And like the whole thing, it's just so
phenomenal.
Cool. But it happened because he said, I don't know, like what, I just need to get there. I need to get there. I need to get what it is I need. And like, that's intention. And here's the good news. Most of the people listening to us right now, watching us right now,
will actually stay in a hotel.
They will probably stay in a hotel. Maybe they'll room up with someone, maybe they'll whatever, but they're not going to have to drive their car and live out of it. But that's the intention that you want to come with. So guys, I'm going to say a couple things. Number one, if you don't have your tickets yet to the advance, go to jaredjamestoday.com/advance. jaredjamestoday.com/advance. Depending on where you're watching this, you can see it online. You can go in the bio on Instagram. You can, whatever it is. I want to say thank you to you, Reagan Archambault. What is it?
Archambault.
I was close. Okay. I want to say
Madam President.
Yes, Madam President. Yeah. That's fine. Thank you for being on. I think this is a killer episode that is not only going to be relatable to so many people, but I think is absolutely going to be something that changes the way a lot of people think, and they're going to get a lot of great information as well. If anybody wants to connect with you, how should they connect with you?
Connect with me on Facebook, Instagram. Just find my name, Regan Archambault.
Okay, well, good luck with that. Okay.
Start with in the Jared James coaching group.
I was going to say, maybe go on Facebook, the Jared James coaching group, just type in Reagan and you'll start to see some options. Okay.
Exactly.
She'll be the 6-foot lady. I guess you won't see that on Facebook, but
towering over.
Yeah, exactly. Just for the record, okay, if we're on stage together at the advance, she's 6'5". I just want to be clear, okay? All right. But anyway, hey, thank you so much. As always, guys, make sure you go to connectwithjared.com. Go to connectwithjared.com, guys. Send us your questions. Let us know who you'd like to hear on the podcast. But appreciate you guys being on here. Make sure you subscribe, give a great review, and we'll see or talk to some of you soon, hopefully very soon, at the advance in Nashville. See you guys there.